Thank you for having me. So my name is Fayez Anwar. I work at GM as the title is kind of a mouthful. It's an electronics design release engineer. Basically what I do is I own the steering electronics on several different cars. And so my job is to kind of make sure everything's going okay. And I'm located in Warren, Michigan.
Wow, that is quite a mouthful. That's pretty impressive as well. Have there been any interesting things that getting into this field you've been able to get to do that you might not have been able to do before?
Oh yes, I think right now as the world is going into the 2020s, the biggest sort of factor that we're seeing everywhere is batteries. Right, everything's got batteries. Your car's going to have batteries pretty soon. So, being in the electrical side, you get to see a lot of these really cool technology, movements that you won't see elsewhere. And you're kind of at the forefront of it because you're trying to go forward, making it better, making the batteries better, making the roads safer. So I think, being in this field gives you a good idea of the hardware and software that's involved in pretty much all technology. And that helps in understanding what's happening afterwards and where the world's headed. And just, keep in mind, this is a field that's going to keep growing. So definitely, for me, this is the coolest field to be in.
If you don't mind me asking, how did you get onto that current career path? And, what were you planning to do when you were a little bit younger?
So when I was a child, I'd always wanted to be a scientist. There was just something about being a scientist. And then I realized, hey, I could do physics in school, but I wanted to be on the application side. I always felt like, astronauts and all the cool people, they were all, engineers for me. Didn't want to be a doctor. So I was like, okay, let's see which field has the most physics. And as it turns out, there's a lot of quantum physics in electrical engineering. And I've always liked cars. There's just been something about cars, since I was a kid. We used to race all the time. And so, that's how I'm in the automotive industry now. And what's inspired me most about it is just moving my education forward, and that has really helped me come to where I'm at today. But I would encourage everyone to, before they choose topics for school, to really go out and understand what it entails, because that's something I wish I had more help, but
absolutely. Where did you start out? What was your original career path with that? Did you go to school specifically for this field, or did you start off somewhere else?
So I started by doing just a normal bachelor's of engineering, and obviously as engineering works, you start off, the first year is fairly similar, and then I realized that I really wanted to get into the electronics side of things. I wanted to program robots, program, different things, doing things by themselves, and also automotive electronics. So I started to go into electronics engineering or electrical engineering, which is also known as electrical and computer engineering. So I can code, I can do hardware, I can do both. And really, that's where it all started off in school. I started working on Formula cars, building them, racing them, and just having a good time with the studying. Unfortunately, it was a lot of it. But after school, I headed into a company called Hitachi, and it was completely automotive. And after that, I took another career path for a little bit. It was more of a systems side, so I don't want to bore you guys with the details, but essentially it was really cool because I worked on all the systems that would deliver products to your house once you bought something on Amazon.
That's huge right now. That's huge right now. Yeah,
that was really cool. And after that, obviously, I came to GM and been here since.
So have you been able to program robots?
Yes. Yeah. I've programmed a lot of different things. In school, I helped program. I shouldn't say I did it by myself. I helped program the IEEE robot. So there was a robot that played basketball. It actually won the competition. And I also programmed, actually my project was a human detector for the U.S. border. And the military did buy our design, and I think they're actually using it right now.
Wow.
And
that is so impressive. I would love to see the robot playing basketball. That sounds awesome.
I wish I had a video. I would have shown you guys.
Yes, absolutely. So were there any big obstacles that you faced or any major setbacks that you were just like, man, this is going to be crazy. I don't know if I have enough to get through this.
Yes, always. There were many major setbacks. All the way from the fact that I'm an international student. My parents had to pay a lot of money to come, for me to be here, and I had to prove myself 5 times harder than anyone else who was already here, and they had a good career path. And then obviously all the immigration stuff, which is never easy in this country, right? And then obviously some of the biggest struggles was the studying itself. It's a difficult subject to graduate with, but once you do graduate, you realize in the workforce that there's many different things going on. There's a lot of politics depending on where you are, and you have to sometimes work harder than some other people to get to the same place. And really, it's just a matter of keeping your head down. I remember in December when I graduated. Actually, I hadn't even graduated. I think it was 2 weeks out, and I'd already gotten a job with NASA to be a flight controller for the International Space Station. But I couldn't join it because they, the day before I was supposed to go, they called me and said, it's going to take a year for your background check. So we can't bring you in right now. So, that was a huge disappointment. That was a pathway to being an astronaut, but I'm glad I'm here, and I'd much rather be doing this than that, at least now.
That is amazing. So, wow. I'm kind of teared up. Sorry. It's a little different when you're doing someone who's like your close friend,
Exactly.
So overall, what was like the biggest thing that you were excited to get to do through this job? Like what doors did it open?
Gosh, all of it. I mean, I was excited to be able to, lead suppliers, lead designers towards a certain path that I want them to take. But I think right now, with the position I'm in right now, the best part about it is I get to work with the Corvettes and Camaros and all the performance cars. So I do all of the steering electronics, and you can imagine them. They're taking it out to the tracks, and whatever happens there, I get to call the shots. Really, my previous position within GM was actually working on the autonomous vehicles. So if you look at the news, I think today or yesterday, there was a big ride along, and they're really close to just allowing the general public to start taking driverless rides. So that's a huge goal.
Sorry, I teach 8th graders, so we need to break apart that word.
Autonomous self-driving cars?
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically what it is a car without a steering wheel or a person driving it. You will show up somewhere and you say, I want to go to downtown Chicago, right? And you're in the outskirts. It'll come pick you up and it'll drop you off without any person there. And we've done millions and millions of miles on these things, so it's getting better. It's not as easy to replace a human, but it's possible.
That is amazing. I'm so excited to see where this goes. All right, so our last question. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stated, I have a dream that my 4 little children will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Do you feel that in 2020 America that this dream has come true? Why or why not?
Wow, that is a powerful question. I think depending on who you ask, their perspective is going to be a little different. Me personally, I've had several instances where I've been pulled over. Most of them in the South. In Tennessee, actually, I've been pulled over many times. And they've asked me really weird questions like, "Do you know English?" And it's just something that I think we all have to work on. And seeing what's happening in the world right now, in America right now, there's 2 sides to it, right? One side is you have all these big companies, big organizations such as the FIA. They're getting their boots on. They're getting into this game of equality, which is great. But then on the other side, you still have cops pulling people over and using excessive force and stuff like that. Obviously, not all cops are doing that, but there is a bias that still stands out there. And so I think we're not there yet. I'm not sure when we'll be there, but at least when these sort of extrajudicial killings, these things that are gut wrenching for all of us, as long as they're a little lower the next year, I think we're improving, but we're definitely not there yet.
Absolutely. And I love your word choice on that. We're not there yet, and we are improving. Like, I love that you're focusing on hope with that. I think that says a lot about your character overall. That's just the type of human being you are. And I would be remiss if I did not ask one additional question. What is the most interesting place you've ever been to? I just had to add that one.
That's a hard one. Honestly, I think we talked about this before. I've been to a lot of places. Honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure. Every single country to me is interesting. There's things that you won't see anywhere. Some of the most interesting places, I think, places like Dubai and Qatar and some places in the U.S.
Some bucket list really, right there. Dubai,
what's that?
For sure. That's amazing.
Dubai is if you want to see a city that's like 10 years ahead of the game, Dubai is where it's at. They're really, really developed. They're very good about their city planning, but also the buildings, right? It's crazy buildings.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for interviewing. I might have a couple follow-up questions because I have a lot of STEM-related students who are just really engaged in that. So I might be shooting them your way with some emails. Thank you again.
Definitely. No problem, Jade. Anything